Hey everyone, I am TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Fascurreyn.
And once again joined by our graphic designer, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey, I am Samm, as you may remember me from Trying, which was actually a little while ago now, damn.
Time goes quick, but we are all back here once again because I'm on BunchaJokahs because we've got a special kind of video for you, not a usual podcast. It's full-on Pokemon Zone at the moment, what with the Diamond and Pearl remakes, and of course Legends Arceus coming out early next year. So as part of that, to sort of celebrate the new Hisui region, or new/old region, and the Hisuian forms of Pokemon that are being revealed. Much like Marvel, we're pondering the question, what if? What if we could decide what Hisuian forms of previous Pokemon made it into the game? And thanks to the graphic design talents of our friend Samm, we have been able to not only create concepts, but bring to life 4 different Hisuian forms of Pokemon. 2 by me, 2 by Kai, and then a little special extra one we'll get to at the end. But yeah, this is going to be really interesting because we don't know each other's picks, and we haven't seen the final forms of these Pokemon, except Samm, who knows all in this situation. How's it been, Samm?
Stressful.
Fair.
The summary that I'll give of the process of drawing all of these has been lots of is this shaded correctly? Is this not? Is there shading at all here? There is one in particular that I struggled with because I won't say which one until we get to it, but the colours on it just made it a little harder to tell if there was anything actually on there or not. So
Right.
I tried to be pay as much attention to detail as I could, while also being true to the original concept which Matt and Kai gave me, which wasn't a lot to begin with, but it was okay. And then from there, I wrote each backstory as to why they adapted to the environment, and then I like to believe that I came up with some interesting things. But I guess we'll see what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the final results here because I'm not a huge, massive Pokemon guy, so I struggle to pick in a way. I think Kai had a much easier time. In fact, I think he struggled to pick a short amount because he had so many ideas. So it's going.
That was not
it's
a
going
fun
to be
thing
interesting.
for me.
When I was thinking of them, I literally had I think it was 20 concepts total, and I sent 8 of them to Samm.
You had 20?
I only ended up using 2. Yeah, I had an Excel spreadsheet with loads and loads and loads of different ideas for different ones, and I was thinking, I can't narrow it down to just a couple. And then in the end, the ones I submitted, even ones from that list, I just came up with them on the spot. So it was really hard to choose.
Well, somehow we had to choose, and now we're here. We've got them, and we're ready to go. If you guys are ready, we'll get started with this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay then, there will be timestamps in the description below if you want to look between the different ones, but stick around for them all because it's going to be interesting. And let's kick things off with mine first before we get to Kai's. And my first one I came up with, because I struggle to think of anything, so I just go with the memes usually. Hisuian Bidoof was my concept. Now, my concept for this is that it was an ice normal type Pokemon, and that we see sort of a snowy region on the map of Hisui, which you can sort of look at. That's sort of what we've used for some of these.
Yep.
And I thought the concept was that this Hisuian Bidoof lives around the icy river, and he just sort of floats down it. He's chill. He's an icy version. He's basically like Bidoof if you tossed him in the freezer for too long, and thus you get icy Bidoof. Now, Samm, I sort of gave him a few ideas of making it just look sort of a blue-white color scheme, maybe something to make it move across the ice. I don't know what Samm did with this though, so Samm, would you like to tell me some further things you might have added?
Well, in terms of design and colours, this was actually the one I was referring to that was difficult to shade in colour. Because there was times where I'd look back on it, I'm like, I generally cannot tell if there's anything on there. So I'd have to go back and I'd add more take things away, add more. And then I think I came up with a design which was quite, in my opinion, funny and cute, and ties into the story I've written for it. So what I'll do is I'll read a bit about what I've sort of decided that the story would be, and then I will show the design, then I'll explain the rest of it, because there's a bit about the design and stuff in it. So essentially, in the Hisui region, we see this is the original form of Bidoof. This is a ice normal type, as Matt mentioned, and this Bidoof has appeared in the Hisui region before the construction of Sinnoh began. After Hisui evolved into Sinnoh, this Pokemon's fluffy winter coat slowly melted away as it became too thick for the new climate of the Sinnoh region, hence why it lost its ice type. So what I will now do, my anxiety right now is at its peak, because
that's how you know it's going well.
Well, I'm sending the design into our chat now. It almost looks Christmassy, but I promise that was not the intent.
That is adorable.
That's great.
So essentially, I took Matt's white and blue color scheme that he requested, and I kept the red nose to be in line with the description that I've written. And I essentially just tried to give it some other colder features. So like the just sort of more silver and grey nose and sort of whatever you call that around its eyes. I almost wanted to put goggles on it, and then I went, maybe they weren't around at the time.
That's for the dress-up contest they do, right?
Yeah. So essentially, expanding on what Matt had written, the Hisuian Bidoof live along the icy regions of the Hisui region in groups of 5 to 10. As we know from the Pokedex, this Pokemon is known for its nerves of steel and more agile and active, and it's more agile and active than it appears. Despite this, Bidoofs were passive and mingled among only their own at the time. They were also relatively weak, and if they were to be attacked, they would flee into the icy rivers that most other Pokemon could not withstand. For this reason, they never evolved into Hisuian Bibarel. So essentially, similar to how Galarian Zigzagoon evolves all the way up into Obstagoon, and the form that we see in Holland doesn't, with the Galarian form being the original, same sort of concept applies. After this Pokemon lost its ice type and began to move more freely around the developing region, this Pokemon became more confident and battled among others, this being the first chance it got to evolve into Bibarel. Am I saying that right? Bibarel? I think.
Yeah.
Probably.
A little more on it. This Pokemon's soft white winter coat engulfs its whole body to keep it warm. And when I say its whole body, you can literally see, you can't see its front legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You can see
I did notice that.
You can see its little feet, and that's about it. So it engulfs its whole body because essentially the Pokemon genuinely hates the cold. But then the only way to heal said coat, if it's damaged or needs repairs, is in the icy rivers, because then that will regenerate the sort of ice follicles and stuff that are in the coat. So that's why it loves to play in them so much, because it's its own self-healing mechanism. So therefore, I've sort of dubbed its ability to be something that would heal when it's attacked by water or ice type moves, with the sort of general rule of thumb being whatever damage was supposed to be taken, a fifth of that is taken into healing said Pokemon.
Interesting.
But yes, that's sort of what I did for that one.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's a really cool design. I think you gotta be careful that Disney don't sue there with the Mickey Mouse silhouette. But otherwise...
I mean,
but no, really, it looks really good.
I mean, they're friendly with Nintendo now, right? Surely?
Exactly.
Yes,
so
obviously,
everyone's
yeah.
friends.
I can also imagine, it's interesting you brought up Bibarel, like, not evolving into it, because, of course, Bibarel's a normal water type. So it kind of makes sense that because Bidoof's not, like, experienced with water, it's on the snow instead, it's not really experienced with water, hence it doesn't evolve.
Let's
say that I intended all of
definitely
this.
thought of that when I didn't.
Yeah, it was a team effort.
It's also that I can also imagine maybe it's like a hidden ability, this having Fur Coat, which is the current signature ability of Furfrou. That's where it's I think it halves damage taken from physical moves or something like that, like takes half damage.
Interesting.
Which may, help it in terms of competitively, because if it doesn't evolve, then it's going to be quite weak through the region. So maybe that sort of helps it stand on its own.
Well, another little note that I
like the idea for it. I
Oh,
like
so-
it having an original ability. So
the only other little note that I made is this Pokemon's main goal in life is to have fun and survive. It may not be your first choice in battle, but is definitely a cute companion in his role. It's as loyal to its trainer as a growler. I can't
Have
talk.
fun and survive. I relate.
I can imagine it being like one of those, like you have the companion Pokemon at the beginning of a lot of the games, or like the signature one it shows off. I think for some reason the only one that's coming to mind is Gen 6 with Helioptile, which is probably the most abstract one out of all of them, but I can imagine it just being one of those ones that sort of props up all the time in different areas as a mascot of sorts.
Yeah, it's
Well-
just almost like how Wooloo became the unofficial mascot of the Galar region.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that, yeah.
But let's move things along then, because my next Pokemon form we've got here, I literally just, for this one, I just scrolled through a list of every Pokemon until I found something, and eventually I settled on Hisuian Emolga, which I put as grass flying. So if we look on the map, we see this massive tree towards the bottom of the map in this sort of grassy plains area. So my concept was that the Hisuian Emolga live in this big tree, and they just sort of, fly around there, just chilling, having a good time, and I don't really come up with much other ideas, so really it's all for Sam. So Sam, what did you take with that concept?
I struggled with this one until I found the perfect Pokemon to sort of combat it. So I did take a few,
Right.
let's call them creative liberties in designing this Pokemon's backstory. And basically, I've decided that it's coming from a already being developed Unova region. So essentially, the Pokemon that do not like the pollution or the industrial sort of environment anymore have decided that they want to leave. And for this reason, the
Right.
Emolga decided to leave because they didn't like the pollution that was in the air and they weren't being used the nicest, let's say. So for that region, they migrated towards, at the time, Hisui, and they settled in this new environment, which was actually at the time sort of among the tree. Not so much in it, but just sort of in that general environment. But what I've decided to sort of do is, after a few sort of years or however long it takes, because the tree's right next to a cliffside, I've decided to strike it with an earthquake, and the golem, which are known for falling down cliffs when there's during an earthquake, have decimated their home. Now, Emolga, its normal form, is not pretty effective against a golem. So essentially, the golem started bullying them for food, this and that, and then the Emolga decided to, well, let's hide in the tree because we're not going to survive otherwise. So then the Emolga became very desperate. They realized they couldn't leave this tree now because, well, if they tried to, they would be attacked by these golems that were just sort of sitting at the base of the tree. The golems set up their camp and they basically lived there. And then over time, the Emolga stopped using their sort of electric powers and eventually adapted to the environment. Now this is, I'll show you the design now, and I didn't want to say it just yet because I'll show you guys just yet because you'll get it straight away. So essentially I've decided to incorporate some Generation 4 lore because why not? We know that Shaman is in the game, but essentially I'm sure the tree serves more of a general purpose, but I've decided to connect this form of Emolga to Shaman. So the story continues ongoing as the Emolga lived in this tree, and as the Shaman sort of came through or awoke from the tree, whatever the situation would have been, they sort of used their powers to sort of heal the area. And during this process, and since the Emolga had been there so long, they began to adapt and become this, if it sense.
Oh.
It does look like a sort of merged finger. I see that.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
I
used the flower that's on Shaman's back on top of its head, and I tried to keep the colors pretty consistent with what Shaman typically looks like. Obviously, I had to incorporate the grass type. So essentially, its whole back is covered in leaves. It doesn't have much of a tail; it just has a little shrub at the back. Either way, it's quite cute. Flowers bloom along the back whenever they're around another Shaman. And essentially, what I sort of see this Pokemon being is similar to how Carbink reacts to Diancie. And when they've got a similar design, they have a different color scheme though, but they're all related. So that's how I sort of see this sort of relationship working. And then after gaining this grass type, the Golem did not stand a chance because it's very effective. So that is the story of Emolga. But the only other thing that I will add is after the Industrial Revolution of Sinnoh, this Pokemon began to struggle a little bit, and we don't see it in the today's Pokemon world because it became extinct. It lost its electric powers when it adapted to the environment, and it couldn't adapt fast enough back into its previous form, and therefore wiped out this species of Emolga. I am sorry, Matt.
This is basically just a big advertisement for anti-industrialism. That's what my whole concept has been from the start. It's let's just say that. But yeah, I really like what you've done with it. I like I did mention to you, they've not got the pouches anymore because it doesn't need them for electricity.
Yeah.
I like how the sort of leaves allow it to. I did mention a bit to you about trying to hide from prey, and I guess if it sort of blends in with the trees, that probably helps as well there. So it's, I really like what you've done with it, and it's just adorable. So
yeah. So this was the very first one I did. This one, it came quite naturally. I was very surprised. I did struggle initially with. You'll see when you see the time lapse with the initial sort of concept, and I did give it this really weird tail, which I then very quickly ditched. And then I decided how I was going to draw the leaves, and it very quickly just became this. And then because I had a little sort of box of grass Pokemon underneath, so I could use colors as reference and sort of other designs, I saw Shaman in there, and then that's what made me design this Pokemon sort of around Shaman. But yes, that's that.
Cool.
Yeah, really good. Which means
I like the
we're now
idea of using the big tree. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I sort of tried to look at the map for landmarks and base my ideas around that, because I didn't have much to work with Pokemon knowledge. I thought I'd just go with geography instead. So.
Oh, that's fair.
But yeah, a very cool result. So thank you for those, Sam. That brings us to the end of part 1, but we do have part 2 on the channel also, so please check that out for the rest of the designs. And until then, we'll see you in the next video. Take care.